How do you use KPIs in practice? I help companies develop KPIs and make sure they are able to use KPIs more effectively. So what I want to do in this video is share with you how you use them in practice and also how to avoid some of the biggest mistakes. KPIs stands for Key Performance Indicators. And the name basically gives away everything. They are indicators, they are the key ones for your business, and they're indicators, they're indicating how well you're doing something. So key performance indicators or KPIs help you to track your strategic goals in your organization. So in order to have effective KPIs, you first need to have your goals clarified. If you simply measure or try to measure anything without having a very clear idea of what your strategic goals are, you will get lost very quickly. So we need to define our strategic goals and then find the metrics that will track those goals. It is really important that those indicators are then used to inform people and inform their decision making. So the whole idea of indicators is that they give you an idea of how well you're delivering your strategy, and the idea of them is to basically reduce uncertainty. So if your strategic goal is to make lots of money and enter these new markets and be more innovative, that's all well and good, but you want to have a feel of how well am I now doing this? And KPIs are designed to track that. But no KPI is ever perfect, so you can't measure things like innovation holistically. You can't measure customer experience holistically. You can only find indicators. This is why the word KPI, indicator, is so good, because it indicates how well you're doing it. It will never measure it holistically. So for me, this reducing of complexity is a bit like what a doctor would do when you go and say, I don't feel very well, can we do a health check? And they would take the key health indicators. They would measure your blood pressure, your cholesterol level and others to then get a feel. And these are all indications, and if one of them is off kilter, you might want to investigate this a bit further. So, and then you use those indicators to inform decision making. And this for me is really important in terms of using KPIs, because what I see in practice is that KPIs are sometimes used as enforcement tools to control people's behaviors. So let's say you work in a call center and your goal is now to handle calls a bit faster and more efficient, and you then measure them and suddenly you're trying to control people's behavior, and then you say you're not handling your calls fast enough and they're not efficient enough. And then people will very easily and very quickly start to game the system, because they realize, okay, if you're only interested in me handling the calls really quickly, I can do this but not deliver great service. So we need to be very careful about using KPIs and impose those measures to micromanage people. So instead what you want to do is you want to give those KPIs to people to empower them to make better informed decisions. The other problem is that sometimes we need to collect lots of areas of metrics for external reporting. So if you're a public company, for example, there are lots of metrics, lots of financial metrics you have to collect regularly, and you have to report to regulators and external organizations. The mistake lots of organizations do is that then they automatically assume that these are KPIs and they put them into their performance reports, and they start to evaluate and measure performance against them, and in their performance review meetings they will bring those up, and they might not actually be the most important indicators. So for me, the key is that we're using indicators for learning and empowerment. It's not to control people's behavior, it's not just for external reporting. We need to define a small set of really meaningful indicators that reduce uncertainty, so people are empowered to use information that will then make their lives better, easier. They will have better decision making and more clarity around how well they're delivering the strategic goals of the organization. Hopefully that was useful. Any more on this? You will find lots of useful articles and videos on my YouTube channel and on my website, where I talk about all of this in a lot more detail, and where you can find lots of useful templates too.